Hi Trios friends! Today I have another special story for you. It's a book from Tasmania. When Dave and I and when our family travels, we like to collect books from all over the world, and so we've been buying these books for Dahlia, and I'm excited to read it for you. This one's called The Great Apple Chase. It all began when Myrtle Wombat sold her last jar of apple jelly. Her little shop was crammed full of things to sell. There were teddy bears, cards, brightly colored flowers, pretty cushions, patchwork blankets, and so much more, but not one jar of apple jelly. Over supper that evening, Will offered to bring Myrtle a load of fresh apples from his orchard. The fire crackled and glowed as he sank back in his chair and took a long sip of tea. If Woody and Lily Pilly can give me a hand in the morning, we should be able to deliver them by tomorrow afternoon. That would be great, said Myrtle. The apple jelly is such a favorite, it will be good to have it back on the shelf. The next day, Will went in search of his friends to ask them for help picking apples. Blue Wren flitted from branch to branch and told Will where his friends could be found. Woody Bandicoot was out in the bush. He was collecting sweet leatherwood honey from his beehives. Lily Pilly Possum was in her garden painting a picture. They were both very busy, but dropped what they were doing straight away. Any reason was good for a get-together with friends. The day was crisp and clear. Blue smoke rose from chimneys and hung in the still air. The three friends scooted up and down ladders and in and out of branches, laughing and chatting with each other as they worked. Woody found an old picker's bag in the shed, but when he filled it with apples, it was far too heavy. Will started singing an apple-picking song. We're all picking apples for Myrtle's apple jelly, and when we've picked enough of them, we'll be very smelly, finished Woody, and they all laughed so much that Lily Pilly nearly fell out of the tree. They tried to find other words that rhymed with jelly, like belly, welly, tagliatelle, until finally they had picked enough apples and it was time to go home. Woody and Lily Pilly climbed onto the trailer to see if it was connected properly to the tractor. But Will was eager to get moving and started the engine. Put, went the tractor. Stop, 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 shouted Woody and Lily Pilly together. But Will couldn't hear them and drove off with a big jolt. A terrible thing happened. The trailer came away from the tractor with a dreadful clank. It balanced on two wheels for about 3 seconds, and then, whoops! As Woody took one tiny step towards the back, it tipped it up with a huge thump, spilling all the apples onto the ground. Lily Pilly and Woody tumbled with them. Oh, ouch, they cried out together. Now Will heard them and looked back to see what was wrong. The huge pile of apples started rolling away. They crashed through the orchard, flew over a fence, and bounced down the road. Oh no, yelled Will. After them! But the apples were rolling faster and faster. They're getting away, shouted Lily Pilly. We're losing them, cried Woody as they bounced over the brow of the hill. By the time the three friends caught sight of the apples again, there was a terrific sound of screeching and squawking. A flock of galahs that had been feeding on grain were being bowled over like skittles. Some of the galahs shot up into the air like rockets, while others scurried into the grass by the side of the road. What's the hurry? What's the hurry? They squawked crossly. So Will explained. Now, galahs like a good joke and started to laugh. But Will couldn't see what was so funny and sped off in pursuit of the apples with Lily Pilly and Woody not far behind. Echidna was strolling down the road when he was hit by an avalanche of apples. He curled himself into a frightened little ball until the danger had passed, but one of the cheeky apples pinned itself to his back. "Help! Somebody help! Oh dear! Get this off me, whatever it is!" "Hang on, I'll get it off. Ouch! Echidna, you'll have to keep still," pleaded Lily Pilly, who was nimbly trying to remove the apple without pricking her fingers. "Oh, sorry," said Echidna, who sat as still as he possibly could. "There," gasped Lily in relief, as she threw the offending piece of fruit into the bushes. "Now we must be off." "Bye, and good luck," said Echidna, wobbling off into the dry grass nearby. The furry friends could see the apples in the distance. A few of them were disappearing behind the old barn at the pig farm. Rounding the corner, a ghastly sight met their eyes. Some of the apples had bounced right into the pig trough. Yuck! Mummy Pig and her piglets were snorting and grunting with delight at the find. "Stop! No, you mustn't eat those!" shouted Will, but it was too late. The pigs were already tucking in, and anyway, the apples were all covered with muck, so nobody felt like dipping their paws in and rescuing them. "Can it get any worse than being covered with pigs, Will?" said Woody despairingly. Believe it or not, it could. As they raced towards the last of the apples, a sorry sight greeted them. All the remaining apples had bounced down the bank and splashed into the creek where the ducks liked to swim. They were ruined, and the three friends stood on the bank and watched in despair. The ducks began to play with the bobbing apples as they twirled and skimmed across the water. "The ducks may as well have fun at our expense," said Will as he clung onto the only apple he managed to save. "I've got 2. How many did you get?" "You've got twice as many as me," said Lily Pilly. "I only managed to grab 1. "Same here," said Woody. "Just 1. Will sucked in his cheeks and sighed. "Gosh, only 4 apples. I think Myrtle was expecting about 400. They trudged off down the road, feeling quite miserable. When they reached Myrtle's house, she was standing on the veranda with an eager look on her face. "Oh no, don't look so pleased, Myrtle. Wait until you hear what happened," started Will, and they all broke into a frenzy as they tried to explain. "There was Echidna and a bunch of galas. Don't forget the pigs. And what about the ducks?" "Hold it," shouted Myrtle, and there was an awful silence. "I guess you are trying to tell me you lost most of the apples?" Yes, mumbled Will. "And that you only have 4 left," continued Myrtle. Yes, just 4, agreed Lily Pilly rather glumly. Myrtle thought for a while, and then a big smile crept over her face. "I know what I can make instead, and it'll be just as nice." The others looked most surprised, but Myrtle went on. "Woody and Lily Pilly, I want you to go to the shop and buy some thick cream. Quick, off you go. Will, you come inside and help me in the kitchen." Myrtle handed Will an apple core and instructed him to take the core out of each apple. Meanwhile, she took some honey, cloves, brown sugar, walnuts, and dried fruit from the cupboard. When Will had finished making a hole through the middle of each apple, they crammed them with the delicious ingredients, placed them on a baking tray, and popped them into the warm oven to cook. "Baked apples, my very favorite!" exclaimed Will, and Myrtle beamed with delight. That night, the 4 friends sat around the cheery fire, reliving the day's adventures as they tucked into wild berry tea and hot baked apples smothered in cream. Later, with their tummies full and toes warm, they had made plans to pick a fresh load of apples in the morning, and Will entertained them with another round of his apple-picking song. "We've been picking apples, all juicy and red, and when we've picked enough of them..." We'll all go home to bed, yawned Woody. The end. Bye, friends. Have a good day.